Labas vakaras visiems susirinkusiems gyvai. Vesiu renginį trumpai, bet angliškai. Thank you everyone for coming and thanks everyone for watching online. This is the very important day for us because it's the last event of the series of the public program events, Artists on Marijai Gimbutienė, which is dedicated to the exhibition here at the House of Histories at the Lithuanian National Museum, which celebrates the centenary of this archaeologist Marijai Gimbutienė, and we are super proud to welcome artists Evy Jokhova and Paulius Petraičiu, who managed to do something completely different from our previous guest artists, so to remove the objects from the exhibition and to feed it into the software recognition machine. So if you saw some figurines there in the exhibition, I think one of the statuettes, the bull statuette and some other statuettes were fed into the software recognition machine, generating, or I even call it regurgitating, some hashtags or words that then after that were producing other images. And the process was repeated all over again. From here, I would like to give the word to the artist, but before that, I want to sincerely thank some institutions that were crucial for this event to happen. So first is the Embassy of Portugal in Denmark, because Evy is based in Lisbon, and also Honorary Consul of Portugal in Kaunas, and our friends, brewery Kūrėjos. And now I give the floor to the artists, and they will read a poem first.
Thank you, Juste. Yes, we will start by reading a poem which was the result of our work over the last 3 months, and we'll explain to you a bit about the process afterwards. Finger temple, shrine accessory. In an architecture of human beads stands a prison statue of a people follower.
You thought I was a cabbage tree. To no one in particular said a park bench, bird in a landscape dancing for emphasis. Why everything is a plant, a tree or a structure, sports, sports, team sports, team, confidence, high confidence. Human, please delete repeated word.
Perceiving the mountain as a large tent, grass shelter, no light, that conceals the flare of my animal nature. Grunge paper invertebrate, arachnid on my walking stick, snowman with the texture of an insect, Spider 2, an inconclusive sequel of Insect 1.
I put my finger in snow to show that I too cared and felt once. It sticks and melts away, how slowly seasons change. Pollen in my coffee cup blossoms into a dandelion, seeds of grief and long denied denial, done with the wind, for once accepted.
In the corner, the wall rose stands forever waiting, aged, never nurtured to blossom, like a damaged parchment, drying potted plant. Thank you. So the poem was a result of, as I mentioned, a 3-month process of a relay that Paul and I did, exchanging images and texts, and through the use of this visual image recognition software. We started with, actually, this is my first time at the museum, and Juste gave me a virtual tour and sent WhatsApp tour, yes, and sent images of the exhibition, through which we selected a couple, and the work started based on that. But we were also very much influenced by Marijai Gimbutienė herself and her way of interpreting her archaeological findings through mythology, and this is what we wanted to sort of come across in the work, especially the relationship between image and caption and how a caption may influence the reading of an image. And this we did in a relay style.
Yeah, so actually how we did this was we had a few images that we made for the start, and then I fed them through visual recognition programs too, actually, as that's part of my research as a theorist. I'm interested in visual recognition programs. And for each image, we had several tags that the program suggested are in the image. So if you see this image that is framed on the wall, it has two rectangles, so the program recognized two objects there. And then the program would say that, you know, this is a mask, or this is a bird, or this is a tree. And then we use these keywords as a sort of a starting point for our poem. So each 4 verses in the poem are connected with a specific image. And then we alternated in turns who is writing 4 verses. So it was Evy, then I read my verses, so you could see it was Evy, me, then Evy again. And so we kept alternating, making images, and then using the program to recognize them, and then using the keywords as a sort of material for the verses.
Yes, and also we were very far apart. We started off with me being in Lisbon. The first images that were directly linked to objects from the Marijai Gimbutienei's show were shot and collaged into landscapes in Lisbon. Paul was in Lithuania. Then I went off and spent 2 months in the Amazon, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And Paul was here over winter in the snow. So there were these two strongly contrasting geographies, which you can see also in the collage presented on the fabric. It was also in the Peruvian Amazon Delta that I came across a lot of indigenous art and objects that I found, and some you can see in the collages as well. It was a coconut painted with 2 faces, which by chance, or perhaps nothing really is by chance, by purpose, has strong similarities to objects in the Gimbutienei's show. Again, you will see many of the figurines have a face at the front and at the back. So although we had the constraint of the keywords from the image recognition software, somehow elements of it always kept on feeding us back to things similar to the exhibition and to the initial images that we started with.
Yeah, and maybe it's worth mentioning that since the project took us 3 months, so we started the poem quite optimistically, so to say, but then we ended the project just quite recently. The last verses were made, so the tone shifts quite dramatically since the events happened, and then we wanted to also recognize this shift in the mood, in our way of talking.
Yes, exactly, because as much as it is a poem, every entry was almost like a diary entry of the reflection on the world and what is happening at the time. And that's why we also made a limited edition print that's over there, which is the image that we have hung in the frame with the poem included, and it's to raise charity for the Ukrainian Women's Fund. So it's, you can have a look a bit later on.
I don't know what else we could mention. I mean,
I have a question.
Yes.
Why did you want to remove the object from the exhibition? Was it because you were not here, or because of circulation of images?
Our idea was very much to put, because here it's it's a museum context, was also to try to revisit objects, and why we took all the subsequent images also in our immediate surroundings was to bring the objects back into sort of real life, in a sense, and take away their museology.
Yeah, and I was quite interested also when I saw the exhibition, the Gimbutienės exhibition first, maybe like 4 months ago or something. I noticed that certain objects or certain artifacts are partially reconstructed. like the ox has a head that was added later, but it's not mentioned in the caption. And I thought that was quite interesting, this a gap almost between the object or the image and the caption. And since we were feeding the images through a visual recognition software, which gives tags almost a caption, so it suggests what you see. So we were quite fascinated with this link and how a text basically suggests what you see.
Yes, because also if we had images directly from the exhibition, it would read them as an artifact. And for us, the object was more interesting than, in a sense, the setting that it inevitably renders if it's presented in front of a white wall or in a glass cube.
I think most of the objects that the archaeologists found, they were all destroyed, like in parts. So everything is sort of
put together.
Repaired. So in a way, I think your work is a beautiful way of also repairing it further somehow.
Yeah.
Reinserting.
Yeah. So this sort of fictional element, you know, how you put these pieces together, so how you put these tags together. So we thought the poem is a nice way to emphasize this poetic quality.
And in a sense, we wanted to create our own mythology. That was one of the things we talked about at the beginning, because as well, Gimbut has interpreted so many of her findings through constructing mythologies from them. So we wanted to have our own short 3-month quest. And then after we finish, also the poem is part of this video piece, so that will play shortly when we're done.
Do you want to add something?
Just to say that after thanks for your talk and beautiful verses, just feel free to check out the artist editions, and we welcome you for Kūro aparatūros non-alcoholic beers, and please stay, because there will be a beautiful reading played in here. Thank you for coming. And just one last thing, there will be a play, like an additional thing for the exhibition this Saturday. 2 times there will be a theater play, object play. There's going to be no words, another mythology interpreting the show at 1 and 5 p.m. by Stalo Teatras. So please do come and support Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you.